Imagine you're walking down a quiet street at night. The streetlights cast long shadows behind you, stretching and shifting with every step. You don't pay much attention to them, but they follow you everywhere. That's your shadow, not just in the physical sense, but in the psychological sense too. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed that every person carries a shadow, a hidden part of the self that holds everything we repress, ignore, or deny. It's the side of us we don't want to acknowledge, the thoughts and emotions we push away because they don't fit the image we have of ourselves. But just because we ignore it doesn't mean it disappears. In fact, the more we suppress it, the more power it gains over us. Think of it like a suitcase you've been dragging behind you your whole life, filled with everything you've rejected about yourself. Anger, jealousy, selfishness, fear, parts of you that you pretend don't exist. But the problem is, the more you refuse to open the suitcase, the heavier it becomes. And one day, it bursts open when you least expect it. Jung argued that ignoring the shadow doesn't make it go away. It only makes it manifest in other ways, through projection, self-sabotage, and even illness. Ever met someone who constantly criticizes others for being arrogant, yet they themselves seem to crave attention? Or someone who preaches kindness but erupts in uncontrollable rage at the smallest inconvenience? That's the shadow at work. We see in others what we refuse to see in ourselves. We demonize in the world what we cannot accept within us. And the irony, the more we try to suppress it, the more it leaks out. So what do we do with the shadow? Jung had an answer: integration. Instead of running from it, we must turn toward it. Instead of fearing it, we must understand it. This doesn't mean acting on every dark impulse or embracing destructive behavior. It means acknowledging those hidden aspects of ourselves with honesty and curiosity. The goal is not to be a perfect person, but a whole one. But here is where it gets uncomfortable. Shadow work isn't easy. It requires deep self-reflection and the courage to admit that you're not always the hero of your story. It means asking yourself hard questions. Why does this person annoy me so much? Why do I feel the need to prove myself all the time? Why do I fear being alone? And then digging into the uncomfortable truth behind those answers. This process isn't about self-punishment, it's about self-awareness. The more you bring your unconscious tendencies into the light, the less they control you from the shadows. Instead of being a prisoner to your hidden fears and desires, you become the master of them. And here's the most fascinating part. Integrating your shadow doesn't just help you understand yourself, it deepens your connection with others. When you accept your own flaws, you become less judgmental of the flaws in others. You become more empathetic, more real. You stop pretending to be something you're not, and in doing so, you attract people who resonate with your authenticity. Jung believed that those who refuse to face their shadows are doomed to be controlled by them. We see this all the time in history, in politics, in society. The individuals who claim to be the most righteous are often the ones hiding the darkest secrets. The more someone insists they are pure, the more you should suspect they are at war with their own nature. So, what would happen if you stopped running from your shadow? If you stopped pretending that your insecurities, fears, and darker impulses didn't exist? What if instead you sat down with them and listened? You might just find that your greatest weaknesses hold the key to your greatest strengths. Jung's message was clear. The path to authenticity isn't through perfection, it's through integration. To be whole, we must embrace every part of ourselves, even the parts we wish weren't there, even the parts that scare us. Because in the end, the strongest people are not those who have no shadows, but those who have learned to dance with them. Thanks for watching.